Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us at the State GIS Users Group meeting. We try to do these quarterly. Today we have a few presentations. I'm just going to jump right into it because time-wise we're a little bit tight. So I'm just going to start by introducing our first presenter, Dee Dee Richards from Esri. Dee Dee, if you wanted to share the presentation from your computer, you can. Otherwise, I
Sure.
can go ahead and call it up on mine.
I will be happy to put it up on mine. I just don't want to cut you off, Arthur.
Okay. Don't worry about that. Okay. Dee Dee Richards, everyone. She's our training coordinator for the state of Hawaii. Um, and she's joining us from California. Take it away, Dee Dee.
Thank you. I'm just about ready to share my screen right now. Thank you for the introduction. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I can't see you anymore, so please speak if you need to, if you want to chime in, and we'll get going. So as Arthur said, I am your dedicated consultant for training and knowledge and skill development. So feel free to reach out to me at my email address here at any time. Happy to help you with any suggestions on what you're looking for, any learning plans, etc. That's what we do. So happy to help you. We're going to have quite a few things to talk about today. And the first is different types of learning that I like to put together and that I think really make a well-rounded skill set. And that's really starting off with our instructor-led courses. They're our deepest, most full-bodied type of learning that you can get. When you can sit in front of an instructor, whether online or in person, and you can raise your hand and ask questions, and there's other people in the room, hopefully from your organization or other organizations in Hawaii as well. And you can discuss those questions that you have. It really helps to not just cement the knowledge in yourself, but also to broaden that knowledge when other people, you're hearing from other people, learning and asking questions and having discussions in the class. It means incredibly beneficial. I think they kind of the nails on the chalkboard for me are when I hear people say, well, we've been trying to figure this out for a long time. We've been working at this for months, trying to figure out how to do this. When we can have a workshop for you, we can have Alan talk to you about, or Todd talk to you about something, or you can take an instructor-led course and get your knowledge in 1 or 2 or 3 days. That's the easiest way to do it. But it also, full skill development and full learning also comes with backing up with your self-paced learning on the academy. And then other resources that we're going to go over today. We're going beyond the academy and showing you some of my favorite resources that I use when I'm putting together learning plans for you. So at the intersection here, you see is just kind of this wonderful amalgamation of these different types of learning, which give you a very broad sense of knowledge and skill set and confidence to move forward in what you're doing effectively and efficiently. And that's what learning and growing is all about. Now, this is what we see tending to happen. And I just got off of an AI webinar with a GIS organization here in California, and they were talking about AI. And I'll have more for you down the road because I'm speaking about AI next month at the presentation, and I have to learn about everything that we're doing with AI in the next 30 days. So I'll have a lot of information to update you with. But what we tend to do, and here's the scale of kind of the advancement of technology, and now with AI, it's just shooting up even faster and higher. And what we do as humans is we tend to say, yeah, I know this. I've been working with this application for years. I've been using Experience Builder or imagery for 5 years. I know it. I've got it. I don't need to learn anything more. But what happens is your technology is updated. You're migrating from 11.3 to 11.5, and there are changes in, let's say, Experience Builder that have happened that you might not be aware of if you haven't taken the course, if you haven't updated your knowledge and skill set. So even if you took an Experience Builder maybe 5 years ago, I would suggest you might want to take it again or take the Advanced Experience Builder course to help you learn more of the new widgets and things that can help you with your workflows, help you create efficiencies and better outcomes in your work. by taking the class. So instead of plateauing on your learning, what we want to do is make sure that we don't have a huge skills gap that keeps growing over time, and that we keep your learning on. We can't always keep pace, and let's be realistic about it. Technology changes so quickly, but we can keep you as up to date as possible with the change that's going on in technology. And that's really the skill set that that we need to build, and the desire for that continuous learning. And I know for me, I'll be honest, I've kind of shied away from AI because it's a lot, and but it's at this point, it's undeniable. I tried to just sweep it under the rug. You can't do it anymore. It's infiltrating everything. And now I have to dig in deep and learn about it. So that's a good example of how we need to keep up to date with what's going on in the technology. So let's talk about the Academy for just a minute, and feel free to pop in. You won't interrupt me. Feel free to just speak up and pop in anytime. I can't see if a hand is raised, so speaking up is the only way to do it. I'm happy to answer any questions or hear your thoughts on anything that we're talking about. So of course, when you log into the Academy, you know this is the front page and this is what you look at. Here's a search bar that's just like a Google search bar, and you can type in whatever it is you're looking for. But if you don't type it in the right way, it's not as easy as Google. Google will still give you lots of returns, even if you misspell something or you don't put the absolute correct wording in there. It kind of understands with AI what you're looking for in return results. Not so much with the Esri Academy. So we have to be pretty specific and really know what you're looking for. I often tend to search for what I'm looking for, and when I am doing learning plans or creating recommendations for you, is I click on one of these tiles depending on what you're looking for. And these tiles correlate to our 9 patterns of use. And when you click on one, for instance, I clicked on ArcGIS products, it will create another whole set of tiles that are more focused. So now you can see within ArcGIS products, we have all of these different 9 tiles that you can dig into. If you are into apps like Experience Builder, you would click on here. If you're doing field work and you're interested in field maps, Survey 123 dashboards, you'd click here. If you are wanting to learn more about the enterprise, you click here, and so on and so on. So I want to make sure that you have the knowledge and you have access to all of this, and that you know how to access it, and that it's a good idea to just kind of play around in there everywhere at any given time. If you have an extra few minutes, just pop onto the Academy and search for some different things, and make sure that you are kind of keeping up to date with what's going on in there, because it changes just about every day. The Academy changes. Oops, I'm a little too far. Now, this is another way to sort, and it's really about how you like to learn. So I prefer to learn with someone teaching me something. I want to be able to raise my hand, ask a question when I'm confused. I want to hear what other people in the room are talking about, because it might correlate to something that I'm doing. So I really need that instructor-led training to help cement that knowledge into my memory. But I also really like learning plans because it's a progression of learning. We're going to talk about that in a moment too, and how to sequence your learning. I also love to watch videos. Watching a video and watching someone explain something is another way that I learn well. And the web courses, because it's giving you text, it's giving you questions, it's giving you video, and then it quizzes you on what you've just learned to make sure you've got it down. They're not as complicated as taking an instructor-led course, or in depth, I should say, as taking an instructor-led course, but they're really great. The web courses are kind of secondary, I would say. If you can't take an instructor-led course, I would say take as many web courses as you possibly can. They're very excellent with the activities that they show you. You're actively participating in those activities like you would in an instructor-led course. They're just much shorter. They're an hour, usually to 2 hours long. So you're not getting that deep learning, but you're getting some good practical learning. So depending on how you like to learn, you've got these 10 different formats of learning, and you'll find them right here under formats. You just have to click on this button, and it'll pull down this menu that you can then select from. So let's say you're new to GIS and you want to learn about how ArcGIS correlates to GIS, or vice versa, actually. Then you would click on Getting Started or ArcGIS Products, and then you would look at the type of training that really fits how you like to learn the best. Any questions on that so far?
Hey, Dee Dee, this is Arthur. Sorry,
Hi,
I'm just going to jump in.
sure.
Um, sorry, I might have missed it if you mentioned it, but for the folks on the call, if you've got an ArcGIS Online account, um, you have access to any of the trainings on Esri.com/training at the Training Academy. Anything that says requires maintenance, um, you need to make sure that you sign in. I think that's usually at the top right of the screen. There's going to be a sign in, but just use your ArcGIS Online credentials.
Correct. Yeah, thank you
And
for
that was it.
mentioning that,
Thanks.
Arthur. Yeah, thank you. That was kind of assumptive on my part that everyone was aware of that. But yes, absolutely. If I go back, I don't know if I captured it in this first one. I didn't. I didn't capture that. But when I'm teaching the academy, that's something I normally go over. But my approach was a little bit different. You'll see here what Arthur is talking about. This requires maintenance as your maintenance program. You'll see that here, or you'll see publicly available. Our training seminars are publicly available to anyone, even without a license. You can join in. But most of our resources on the academy require a maintenance program. So thank you for that, Arthur. When you log in, you're going to see all of the new formats of training that we have here, the types of training subjects. And right now we have, this was just clipped a few days ago, so this is very recent. A month ago, we had 15 of these. So every week, every month is different. We're constantly changing. So that's why it's good to come back to the academy once a week if you can, to kind of check out what's new. And you'll see that we have a new Experience Builder Basics course. So this would be a precursor. I would suggest this is a precursor to the original ArcGIS Experience Builder course, which goes much more in depth. That's a 2-day course. Of course, you're going to learn a lot more in the instructor-led class, but this would be a great precursor. If you hadn't used Experience Builder before, I would suggest maybe taking this pretty in depth at 4.25 hours. And then we also have the geographically weighted regression analysis. And that's a webinar as well. And you'll see on the top here if it's a web course or training seminar or a learning plan or a video or anything else. Now, one that we've been very excited about, I had to miss it yesterday, unfortunately. Every month we have live training seminars. They're in Pacific time, but we do them at 9 o'clock in the morning Pacific time and 11 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. So you're not too far off, so you could choose either one of those. This was yesterday, and now it lives live on the Academy. So if you're interested in AI-ready metadata essentials, so that would be a great thing for you to go back and watch and just kind of look at what's metadata essentials, how is it getting ready for AI and GIS. So that would be a good one for you to watch. And it's only in hours. It's kind of nice. Another thing on the Academy, and you'll look at it when you go into the catalog, you'll see course catalog, courses by schedule, courses by location, and new and retired training. So if any of you have ever clicked the little red heart next to a training when you're playing around in the Academy, I suggest anything that you think is interesting, even if you're never going to take it, but anything you think is interesting, that you click on that red heart because it's going to save it for you in your My Academy over here. So 2 months from now, you might be thinking, gosh, what was that class that I really liked? I can't remember what it was called. And trying to go back and search the entire Academy for it is bananas. You probably will never find it. But if you go back to your Academy, to your My Academy, you'll find it easily because it will be hearted and it will be stored in there. And sometimes training that we really want to take gets retired. So here I've taken a snapshot of the pending retirements that are coming up in April through July. So if any of these are interesting to you, you should take them as quickly as possible. This one might be a little bit more applicable, accessing data in Portal using an API for Python. That's something I hear a lot of people using APIs for Python now, using notebooks. This is for Portal. but it's up until July 1st. So if you're interested in taking something like that, might want to just peruse this every now and then and see if there's something in here that you want to take and make sure that you take it before it is retired. And they're retired for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes we're just updating it and we're coming out with a new web course or a new training seminar or instructor-led class. And so we're retiring something. Sometimes it just is not applicable anymore and we need to retire it completely, just like we did ArcMap. And when we're migrating from ArcMap to ArcGIS Pro, ArcMap no longer, well, it still exists. It's just not supported anymore. These classes don't exist anymore. So if there's something that you want to take, you might want to take it as quickly as you can. Okay, we have two new courses that I wanted to bring to your attention to. Getting started with CAD data is great if you're working with CAD. This is a brand new class that we are launching in April. It opens on April 30th. We haven't had a CAD data class before. So if you're working with CAD, this might be a great class for you to take. And then spatial data science, advancing your analytics. This actually replaces a class that was very similar. And that opens in May 7th. It's basically a big rewrite and adding more things into the class that we had before. This is very similar, but different. So we've enhanced our prior analytics course and spatial data science course and turn it into this. And you'll see those coming up on the Academy very soon too. I wanted to chat a little bit about prerequisites because what I'm seeing a lot lately is people jumping into a class that is too advanced for them. You might have an experience builder is perfect for this. So I had two people last week that wanted to take the advanced experience builder course because they've had some experience with it. When I asked them how much, they said they'd taken some demonstrations at UC, which was nearly a year ago, or they had been working in it for about 6 months. That's probably not going to give you the best learning experience if you don't do the original experience builder advancing, which is ArcGIS Experience Builder Essentials, I think. I can't remember the exact name of it off the top of my head. But we have kind of your basic experience builder course. Now we have the advanced course. And both of these students wanted to take the advanced course first. And that's kind of a human desire, right? We sometimes think, yeah, I've been working with this for a while. I could take the advanced course. But the original course gives you so much foundational knowledge that will allow you to incorporate the advanced knowledge much more quickly and much more fully and be able to hit the ground running in a more effective and efficient way if you take them in succession. So we have on nearly every learning in the Academy, we do have prerequisites that we suggest. They're not mandated, but if you do them, if you take the prerequisite before you take the webinar or the course or the learning plan or what have you, they really will help cement the foundational learning into your memory and help you move forward more quickly. Would hate for think about in college or in high school, you want to take calculus, you want to get to calculus 3, but you have to start with calculus 1 first. You can't really skip calculus 1 and just go to calculus 3 unless you're really smart in math, which was never my strong suit. So we want you to start kind of on those foundational concepts, grow your knowledge, grow your expertise, and learning plans are a great way to do that. When you get a learning plan, we want you to start from the top and go all the way to bottom, and we don't want you to skip in between. It's important that we've structured those learning plans very carefully. So we start you at that foundational level and then continue to grow your expertise and your knowledge and your skill sets and your ability to create and do with every class. Any questions on prerequisites? Cool. Okay. So here's just a little example with ArcGIS Online Basics. If you have, and I see this a lot too, I have someone with very little GIS experience and they want to go right into ArcGIS. It might not be the best thing to do. We might want to take a little bit of a back step and make sure that we are getting our online basics down before we take a more advanced ArcGIS Pro Essential Workflows is one that I see a lot of people putting themselves into when they're kind of newer to GIS. Last week, I had someone who went to school 10 years ago for GIS, and now she wanted to take ArcGIS Pro Essential Workflows. And I said, let's get some basics down first. Let's just get some, refamiliarize yourself with GIS because it's changed in 10 years, changed a lot. And what they teach in university, I'm told, is really not what we teach in Esri either. It's what we teach in Esri is more advanced. So even for those who have just graduated with a GIS degree, might still want to take some refresher courses in whether that's a webinar or a learning plan in GIS, the way that ArcGIS is taught, since that's the predominant structure of GIS these days. Okay, now let's go beyond the academy. This is where it really gets fun. So when I'm creating learning plans for you, I go all out into the Esriverse and I search all my favorite places. And this is one of my favorite places. It's the tutorial gallery. So you can enter a product name or here like a Google search bar, or you can filter by these filters over here. So we've got capabilities, topics, types, different levels. You can sort from beginner, intermediate, or to professional level, and different types of accounts. You can see here that I picked out Experience Builder since it's such a popular topic, and it'll pop up automatically with tutorials. So you'll be able to see what other people have done and what this particular tutorial focuses on, how long it is. And these are usually pretty short. They're usually not more than about 30 minutes. These here are all let's see, today's tutorial. These are all tutorials, but you see down here, this is a series. So you can click on this and you'll see then on the right-hand side of the screen, it'll show you all of the different videos or tutorials in the series of what you're wanting to learn. So that's a really cool way to build some knowledge too, and get an idea of what other people have done in an experiential way. I love looking at what examples of what our customers have done. It gives you ideas and really helps you kind of get more creative with the work that you're doing. Now, if we click on topics here, creates this page. We pull up to this page, and I love this too. This is a place where you can look at foundational products that we have, so the ArcGIS products, extensions that we have for Portal, and apps, focus products. And then you have, for developers, we have a special little space for you over here too. So I clicked on apps here, and Arthur will share this with you. I have all the links in here for you, so you can go back and click on this. You don't have to remember any of this, but you can click on all the different apps here. So again, you want to look at ArcGIS Pro, you'll click on that, and it will provide you with a whole nother set of tutorials or videos. Like here, I clicked on dashboards, and you can go to, now it'll pull up the overview section, gallery, resources, getting started, create and share if you want to share your own, and references. So you can, this is kind of the dashboards page. You can try ArcGIS dashboards if you've never done it before, how to visualize data using dashboards in Arcade. And as you scroll down, it'll be just a long list. As you scroll and scroll, it'll be a long list of helpful topics, tutorials, video series, and to help you get used to dashboards. And you can submit your own dashboard, which is really cool. You can submit your own dashboard that you've worked so hard on and you're really proud of. You can submit it to the to Esri and have it posted as well. Any questions on that? One of my favorite places. So remember this, this page and click on this link because it'll lead you to some fantastic, awesome places to learn. Okay, this is something that new that just came out. You're not going to get a lot of learning out this, but it's kind of fun. If you only have a minute, we have training in 1-minute videos. They're about 1 minute and 10 seconds. So it's a series of 12 different videos covering topics like workflows and demonstration tools and user types. So if you're new to the user types, you can get a little bit of information in just about a minute. Usually it's 1 minute, 10, 15 seconds. So these are really fun. I put the link here so you can click on that. If you have 15 minutes, just go ahead and watch them all. They're really easy and fun to digest. And then we want your feedback. I think this is one of the best places to be a part of Esri and what we're developing. we have an early adopter program, and there's a link right here that you can click on. And you can join the program and look for different types of developments that we're doing, whether it's a beta testing, it's a revision of a product, a new product that we're developing. You get to sign up for that test and give us feedback on it. So for instance, about 6 months ago, there was a beta for AI, using it to in your phone on a dashboard while you're driving. So think of garbage trucks that drive, or transit workers that are driving all over the place, and or even police vehicles that are driving. And you can train the AI to, this one particular one was trained to spot cracks in roads, to spot damage on signs or on bridges. And you can imagine how it's just driving by something and automatically capturing that data, versus in the past, someone would have to stop, write it down, take pictures of it, and then manually upload that information into a database, where here it's all done automatically for you. So the beta test was really fun. I just got a message that popped up, a text that popped up on my phone one day, and it said, take a picture of your roadway. Tell us how wide it is, tell us how long it is, and then take pictures of the cracks or any divots, any damage in the roadway. And I did that in probably 2 or 3 minutes. I was able to do that super easy. I uploaded it. It asked me some questions, and then it asked for feedback. What would you improve? How could this be better? Was this easy for you? And it was probably one of the easiest things I've ever done. So it's a great way for you to get introduced to Esri technology. If you've got your eye on something that you're interested in, here's kind of what it looks like. We've got a beta for the XR viewer, which I've heard is very cool. You might be interested in having an opportunity to work with field maps, or a city engine, or AutoCAD, Survey 123. There's a lot of different things here, or Hub, you might be interested in doing. And I know there's AI built into quite a few of these, so that gives you a little bit of opportunity to work with AI in these tests as well. So again, you can sign up by going here to the early adopter program. Costs nothing. It changes all the time. It's a year-round program. And we really do want your feedback, because everything that we develop, everything that we do is for your benefit. And if we're not getting your feedback, we might be developing something that's not quite right for you. So it's a great way for you to do that. Let's talk a little bit about conferences that are coming up and the experiential learning that you get when you go to these summits or the conferences. And it's all really about, especially user conference, it's really about the art of the possible. I was at the CIO summit over the last 2 days held in Redlands, and you can just kind of feel the excitement in the air. Everyone's there to learn and grow and dig in, and it's so much fun. So for free, we have April 14 through 16, a Geodesign Summit, and you can attend virtually, and then you can access not only the plenary and some specific discussions. Not all classes, not all sessions are available with the digital access pass, but you can access quite a few of them. So if there's something that's interesting to you, you can click on this link here and you can go to that. You can sign up for it. You can look at what's there and what you have access to, and you can plan your schedule. And why not? That's going to be really, really fun. You'll learn a ton, especially through the plenaries, which are really what our customers have done and where they're going with technology. That's always, I find, extremely inspirational, and really gets my creative juices going too. And then May through June, unless Todd or Alan, you have another one I could not find, another one that's over in the next couple of months that really would be applicable to everybody. But usually May through June, we're kind of getting ready for the user conference that happens in July. And we're planning our agenda. We're looking at who's going there from our team, who's actually going to be there, and who's attending virtually. And it's a great time to plan a plenary party so that you can watch with your own groups, or have one throughout Hawaii where everybody's coming together and watching the plenary, which is something that unfortunately I don't get to do when I'm working, you see. I have to go back and watch them after the fact, and you can certainly do that too. They're up, I think, about 6 months after the the user conference ends. We get all the plenary videos that pop up in and the Esri videos. And then user conference, of course, is July 13th through 17th in San Diego. So just a bit on training and how to pay for it. You should go to this one first. If you have Advantage credits, AP credits, 1 credit or 1.5 credit is good for 1 day of instructor-led training. So we have a lot of 1-day classes, and that means it would be 1.5 credits for you to go to an online virtual instructor-led course. If you wanted to take a 2-day course, it would be 3 credits. 3-day course would be 4 credits. So you can see how 4.5 credits, you can see how that works. And then this is really for private classes. These are for individuals learning. This is for private classes. If you have a group in your organization of 10 or more people, or there's maybe, Arthur, 10 people throughout the state that want to take a particular class, I'm a big proponent of learning in a group. So if you can get together in a room and take the same course, if you can get together virtually and take the same course, you learn and benefit from the questions that are being asked in the room. So you get an even deeper, broader type of learning when someone who's doing something similar to you and knows about your project might ask a question that you completely correlate to, and it sparks a new question in you, sparks a new idea in you, and it makes you ask another question that takes that learning even beyond what you were taking or you were learning in the course. I find that so exciting and really refreshing and fun. I love to learn, and learning experientially with a group of people that are doing similar things to me is fantastic. You're probably really only going to do that online training unless you want us to come to your site. For you to come to California would be a bit much. So I think on your site, it's 17 credits per day. And then something that we have is coaching. And this helps to connect what you're learning in a private instructor-led course to what you do in your workflows every day. So last year I had a customer not far away from Hawaii who had taken a class before, and they just couldn't figure out how to correlate what they learned in the class to their workflows every day. So they took the class again a year and a half later. And of course, the class had changed by then, so it had been updated and they learned more, which was great. But we also brought in a coach to teach them a little bit more about what their specific workflows were, what their data is, and how to correlate their workflows and their data to what they learned in the class. And it helped them immensely. And they were able to move forward successfully in their work and in their workflows. And they're very, very happy that they did that. So if there are some questions about, gosh, how do I do this? We took this instructor-led group training, but I forgot how to take it from the class into my workflows. Coaching can be a really good option for you. And then for anyone who is not involved in the AP or does not have extra AP credits to spend, or maybe you've spent all your AP credits and you just need to send 2 people or 3 people to training. Oh, I'm on conferences now. Let's go to Training Pass. Then you can buy a training pass, and a training pass is good for 1 day of training for one person. So if you have, let's say, one person that needs to take 2 days of training, then you're purchasing 2 training pass days to take up that 2-day training for that one person. And it's really a great filler if, like I said, if you've run out of credits and you are AP credits and you just need to do a little bit of training, maybe you have a little bit of budget that has rolled over and it's towards the end of the year. You can't buy 25 AP credits, but you can buy 3 training pass days or 10 training pass days. It's a great flexible way to be able to pay for training ahead of time. And then when you're ready to redeem those training passes, you just call me like you do for your AP credits. And of course, you need to check with your manager first, but after that's been done, then they usually contact me. And then we redeem either your AP credits or we redeem your training pass. So that's how you pay for instructor-led training, just instructor-led training. Everything else is free for you on the Academy or the other resources that I send your way. Any questions? Anything I didn't cover that you're wondering about? Anything you would like me to go back and touch on again?
Hey, Dee Dee, this is Arthur.
Hi.
I wanted to mention that there are a handful of agencies that have an advantage program. So not all agencies have advantage programs, and generally they're targeted for some specific outcome. So it may not be that they have credits available for staff training unless it has to do with a particular project or
Mhm.
outcome. How much are the is a training pass for a day?
Training pass usually changes every year, so it's a good idea to get them in the year before you need them, before prices go up. Right now, they're 1,065. It's the same as paying for a class if you were to pay with a PO or a check or credit card. It's the same price as it would be online.
Okay, thanks.
So,
So something for you folks to keep in mind is that, as Dee Dee said, the online stuff. I'm sorry, not the online stuff, but the training academy stuff, the training videos, the MOOCs, the short videos are free for you, and in some cases you'll need to log on with your ArcGIS Online account. But the instructor-led courses do cost money, and it's a little over $1,000 a day. So if you see a 1 day training, it's going to be 1,000 something. 2 day training is going to be 2,000 something. So if you have the budget for it, they are a great way to go in depth on a particular product, like ArcGIS Pro or Experience Builder or some other module or application that you know that you're going to need and you want to know more about. Um, it's a good way to go, but it does cost money, and it's not super cheap. Just wanted to mention that.
it isn't super cheap, but it's worth it if you really want to dig into your training, um, and your skill development. It's a good thing to do. I was actually in a planning meeting yesterday, and someone said, Esri's Esri's training is expensive. We get that, but we've tried it from other organizations that say they have the same thing, and it's not as good. So we really work very hard to make sure that you're getting as much as you possibly can out of an instructor-led course. That's why most of them are 2 or 3 days. Most of them are actually probably two. We do have some that are 1 day and some that are three. But we want you to have, and they're from 8:30 in the morning till 5 o'clock at night. We want you to have that deep, deep learning that you're not going to forget. And the kind of the nails on the chalkboard for me is when I hear someone say, we've been trying to figure this out for a couple of months. And I just think, oh gosh, how much has that held you back? What could you have been doing if you had that knowledge all pieced together much more quickly in one spot? And that's what the instructor-led courses do. Now, if you don't have budget at all, let's do a learning plan. Let's do a learning plan for you. And let's just focus on the resources I've showed you here today. My favorite spots to go: academy courses. And within a month or so, you'll have as much information as you can without going that instructor-led route. So I think the learning plans are a great way to go if you don't have any budget for training. And I'm here to help you with that. So don't struggle on your own. We don't want that. I don't want that to happen. Come to me, and
I
I'm
provided I provided your slide deck in the chat, so your contact information, I'm sure, is on there. Learning plans are a great way to go. So yeah, I would encourage everybody to reach out to Dee Dee. That's her job. That's what she's doing for us. She's our training coordinator. So please feel free to reach out to her.
Thank you. That's it for me if you don't have any other questions. Thanks, everybody.
Not for me. I seem to be asking the most questions, but yeah, nothing more for me. Anybody else?
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much, Dee Dee.
Thanks, Arthur. Appreciate the time.
I learned a lot about training opportunities, so thank you.
Great. I'm glad. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, moving on. We have Lisa Webster and Sabrina Ayub from Lisa is from our Office of Planning, Sustainable Development, Coastal Zone Management Program here in DBED, and Sabrina is a technical consultant with Esri. And together they're going to talk about a new application they developed called the Hawaiian Estuaries Viewer. So go ahead, Lisa or Sabrina.
Thanks, Arthur. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, let me just get to my notes also. Okay, hi everybody, I'm Lisa Webster. I'm a planner at the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development Coastal Zone Management Program, or OPSD-CZM. And today Sabrina and I will be discussing the development of the Hawaiian Estuaries Viewer, which was built through a partnership between OPSD-CZM and DLNR DAR with support from Esri. The Hawaiian Estuaries Viewer is an Esri experience builder application that houses the first statewide map of Hawaii's estuaries. I'm going to start with some background context and then go over the data development process, and then I'll hand it off to Sabrina to provide a demo of the viewer and discuss application configuration for this new tool. So I'm just going to start with a little bit of background about OPSD-CZM. So the Hawaii Coastal Zone Management, or CZM program, was established in 1977 under HRS Chapter 205A with the purpose of providing effective management, beneficial use, protection, and development of the coastal zone. The CZM program is a network-based partnership housed in OPSD and tasked with managing the entire state's coastline. The CZM program balances environmental protection and economic development through partnerships with county, state, and federal agencies, enforcing policies on coastal development, hazard mitigation, and ocean resources. State partners include various DLNR divisions, including DAR, DOFA, DOBOR, and OCCL, various DOH branches, including Clean Water and Wastewater, the Department of Ag, DHHL, HIEMA, and several others. Other partners include the counties, the university, and federal agencies. So as the lead agency for this network program, our office brings together all the partners in our network to encourage coordination, provide partners with resources and guidance on how to enforce CZM policies and objectives, and make sure we're all working towards one shared vision of how we'd like to see the state manage coastal resources. Roles of the CZM program include regulatory functions, community involvement, and planning initiatives through the Ocean Resources Management Plan. The Ocean Resources Management Plan, or ORMP, is a statewide plan that seeks to resolve coastal problems and issues that are not adequately addressed by existing laws and rules, and to fill multi-jurisdictional data and management gaps through planning initiatives. The three focus areas of the 2020 ORMP are development and coastal hazards, land-based pollution, and marine ecosystems. Direction of the plan is informed by public input and partner agency expertise. So one of the ways that our program gathers public input is through the Marine and Coastal Zone Advocacy Council, or MACSAC, which is an advisory body to OPSD made up of up to 12 volunteer advisory members representing each of the main Hawaiian islands with diverse backgrounds in marine research, law, tourism, conservation, and Native Hawaiian cultural practices, among other areas of expertise. MACSAC holds quarterly public meetings, which include presentations on topics of interest, discussion of legislative bills, coastal zone hotspots, and public input. So at a MACSAC meeting in May of 2022, MACSAC member Dr. Bob Nishimoto, who is a former DAR fish biologist, suggested that Dr. Kim Payton, a DAR estuaries researcher, present to MACSAC on her research. During her presentation, Dr. Payton discussed the importance of estuaries, which are coastal bodies of water where fresh water from streams mixes with salt water from the ocean. She emphasized the importance of these areas as juvenile fish habitats. And during this meeting, Dr. Payton also expressed an interest in getting cesium support to develop her estuaries data into shareable geospatial data layers. So that MACSEC meeting was the starting point for the development of the Hawaiian Estuaries Viewer. It took a few years, but in early 2024, we partnered with Dr. Payton to develop an RFQ to begin developing both the data and an accompanying viewer to house it. Starting in May 2024, we received support from PAC Geos for early data development, and then continued to complete data development in-house before contracting Esri to assist in building the Experience Builder in November and December of 2025. After additional data cleanup and viewer updates, we released the beta version of the viewer earlier this month. So now I'll share a little bit about the data development process. So the preliminary data that we started with was basically decades of Dr. Payton's estuaries research. And she had also had an intern look on Google Earth and create a point layer, which is shown on the left with the purple dots for each bay around the state, as well as headlands to sort of show the boundaries of each bay. And she also had spreadsheets for each island of estuaries associated with bays, streams, and lagoons. So as we considered how to create a bays polygon layer from the existing centroids and headlands, we found that the existing coastline layer available from the statewide GIS portal had some misalignment with imagery and headlands points and did not capture inland water features such as the river in the far right image. So we reached out to partners at UHSOS to see if they had a better data set for our needs, and they provided us with an elevation-derived coastline layer, which aligned with the imagery and included large inland water features. The elevation-derived coastline layer is based on raster data, which appears pixelated at smaller map extents. So we use the smooth polygon geoprocessing tool to smooth the edges of this coastline layer. I then created a new polygon feature layer, and using the headlands as boundaries, drew rough polygons for each bay using the smoothed coastline layer as a guide. And that's, you can see those as the semi-transparent green polygons. After I had done that for all of the bays in the state, I clipped the rough polygons using the smooth elevation derived coastline layer to produce early version of the bays polygon layer. So in the image, you can sort of see what the final bays layer looks like. So after creating the bays layer, I joined it to Dr. Payton's bays data spreadsheet. And using the bays data, the bays layer was updated to identify which of the state's bays have a freshwater source from either stream flow or groundwater discharge and are therefore estuaries. Estuarine bays shown in blue were then extracted from the completed bays layer and added to the newly created state estuaries layer. This image shows some of the bays on Lanai. Lanai has many bays, but very few are estuarine. They don't have a lot of freshwater sources there. So once I could finish the bays layer, moved on to the streams data. So on the left is the dark streams layer with perennial streams shown in blue and non-perennial shown in red. On the right is a 100-foot contour line, which was extracted from multiple 100-foot contours, and which I used to select low-lying coastal streams. In the next few slides, I'll walk through that process. So this is kind of a challenge that it took a minute to figure out, but what I ended up doing is for each island, I created a polygon by tracing the 100-foot contour line. And once the polygon was created, I created a rectangular polygon that encompassed the entire island, then did a union of the rectangle and the 100-foot contour polygon, and deleted the inner polygon to get sort of the cookie cutter outer below 100-foot contour polygon. I had originally tried to use the polyline to polygon tool, but because the 100-foot contour is not continuous, and there were many places where it was missing, I decided to go this route instead. Okay, so then after that, I used this newly created cookie cutter polygon to clip the dark streams below the 100-foot contour line and filtered out. I also filtered out the non-perennial stream. To just this, so the image on the right shows just any of the streams that are below the 100-foot contour line. And then using Dr. Payton's streams data, the dark streams there that had been clipped at the 100-foot contour was updated to identify which of the state streams are estuarine. So the estuarine streams are shown in yellow and the non-estuarine streams are shown in red. Halava Bay, shown on the right, on Molokai, shows both a riverine estuary and a non-estuarine stream, like possibly from a waterfall, feeding fresh water into the bay. And because I wanted to create a state estuaries layer as a polygon feature layer, I needed to convert those polyline stream data into polygons. So I created a buffer layer around the clipped streams layer and added that to the state estuaries layer by merging the two data sets. I then went back to the estuarine bays layer and split the larger streams from the bays. And these were included as riverine estuaries in the state estuaries layer. And the final step in creating the state estuaries layer was to delineate lagoonal estuaries by cross-referencing Dr. Payton's lagoonal data with the National Wetlands Inventory data set and using a subset of the NWI polygons as boundaries with Dr. Payton's input. We basically went through her entire spreadsheet of lagoonal estuaries and looked at what we had available and used NWI data to select what she believed to be the areas that included lagoons. And here is Nawiliwili Harbor on Hawaii, which is an example of an estuary that includes a riverine estuary component, a lagoonal estuary component, and a bay estuary component. So once the state estuaries layer was completed, I created a parent estuaries polygon layer by dissolving boundaries between all features with the same parent estuary name. So if we would, in the Nawiliwili Harbor example, all three of those subparts became part of a parent estuary called Nawiliwili Bay estuary. So in this image, there are examples of the three types of parent estuaries shown on the north shore of Oahu. We have a bay estuary on the left, Turtle Bay, Kawela Bay. Then we have O'Eo Gulch Riverine Estuary in the middle, shown in pink. And then on the right is James Campbell National Wildlife Refuge, Lagoonal Estuary in green. This layer, this parent estuaries layer, was important in allowing the viewer to function optimally. So this viewer is filling a data gap by providing information to CZM program partners, including county shoreline planners who issue permits for development and seaworm water regulators who make decisions about water diversion. It's also a resource for interested members of the community who want to better understand Hawaii's natural resources. Hopefully this tool will lead to increased protections for these important habitats, which support juvenile fish and shorebird populations and provide protections against coastal hazards. And now I'm going to hand it off to Sabrina, our Esri consultant, to provide a demonstration of the tool that she developed with our data and for her to discuss her approach to configuring the application based on the available data and provide some insight into best management practices for data development.
Thanks, Lisa. Before you do the handoff, Jonathan had a question. I
Oh,
think
sorry,
it's in the chat.
Okay, let me get to it. Is Jonathan asking for the link to the data set?
I think so. The feature service REST
So
URL.
this data is going to be shared to the Geo portal, and at that point we'll figure that out. But I haven't quite gotten it ready to share publicly yet. Does that answer your question, Jonathan? Okay.
All right, I guess I can go ahead and take screen share. Hi, everyone. My name is Sabrina Ayub, and I'm a technical consultant with Esri. And I'll be going ahead and doing a quick demo of the application. Let me know when you can see my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So yeah, there is a beta version out of the application and just a little bit about the app. So um, we put together, we kind of did a lot of discussing about the data design. One of the things that we wanted to keep in mind is just making it very accessible to people who may be familiar with Experience Builder and web apps as a whole, but also users that maybe haven't interacted with these type of applications before. And so a big part of this application is that a lot of the interaction happens really within this pane over here. We also have the web map, and then we have some tools on the side that I'll go through. So one of the first things you're going to see is some instructions on kind of how to navigate this application. There's also some information up here as well. So you can hit the info button and you'll see about this viewer to learn more about it. And then there's this other tab as well that kind of goes into more depth of kind of the background. And so once you kind of go through all the instructions, you'll be able to do a couple things. So you can pan around the map. You can see here that I can pan through the map. And as I zoom in, it starts to show more of the data. So like it'll start to show some of the bays and all the labels. I can also switch to 3D, and we are working on kind of making it more 3D, but it gives you a little bit of elevation to work with. So there's also that, and you can reorient through here. So let's say you kind of turn it all around and you're like exploring the island, you can always reorient it back to the proper direction. When we go to find your results, you can see that there's a couple filters, and when you expand this over here, which is explore estuaries, you can also see a bunch of estuaries and then also the legend. So I can also collapse some of these. So let's say I wanted to collapse those, make more space for all of this other stuff. I can do that. And there's also this other tab here where you can kind of see at a high level, bunch of different stats about like the number of estuaries, how many acres, also like estuary and bays, things lagoonal, and then it's also broken up by island. So if you hover over all these bars, you can see like the count and how many estuaries there are. And it's also broken up by estuary type. So as you kind of zoom to each island, and you start to filter them, these will start to change as well. So I can start by doing refine your results, and I can, let's say, refine it to, let me actually go back to the full extent and switch to 2D. I can go ahead and filter to Hawaii. And once I do that, it's directly to the island. And from there, you can kind of scroll through estuaries that are on this specific island. And so I'll go ahead and click on Honolulu Bay. And once I do that, it actually flashes it, zooms to it, highlights it, and also gives more information about that specific estuary. So it'll give an image, some more information, and this is all kind of custom. All of this is built through Arcade, so it's calculating on the back end. And then it also gives you associated features. So if there is like a river that links to it, it'll go ahead and highlight that, and you can see that it's kind of associated, it's kind of connected, and you can see that. A couple other tools that we have. So the other approach to this is also doing a search. So I can also kind of search, let's say, search one of these other ones. See if that comes up. I guess I'll do another one. Actually change this to be all. And then let's say I now search for Honolulu Bay from here. Can also do that as well, and then it'll filter this down, and then it would populate this as well. So there's two different ways to go about your searching experience. And then when you toggle to here, it'll obviously just filter these two to be kind of to your specific selection. Yeah. A couple other widgets we have in this application also include a layer toggle. So if you want to see other layers around, let's say I kind of zoom in and turn a couple others on. So you can see that there's like watersheds that turn on and the Moku. And you can also turn off layers too if you want. And then you can show labels or turn it off, and you can also see details of the layer. Also base map gallery, so you can change what base map you're seeing. Say you just want to see like a typical topographic map, you can see that as well. We can keep it at hybrid, imagery hybrid. And then there's another legend over here in case you don't want to keep on scrolling down all the way here. You can also see it over here. And I'm gonna close that. So there's also a draw feature, which what that does is, let's say I want to kind of, just show something. Let's say I want to show that, let's say I'm trying to send this over to somebody and I want to I'll actually do this one. Make a big rectangle to show like, okay, this is what I'm trying to show somebody. I can do that, go to the print tool, and I can actually create like generate a layout. So I can do like Honolulu Bay for the title, and you can change a bunch of the settings so that put my name. And I can choose to include like a legend, north arrow scale bar, and then I can change the scale bar unit to a couple of these. I usually just keep it at miles and hit print. Sometimes it takes some time to generate, other times it's fast. but it should be generating pretty quickly. And while that, oh, actually, it's it for us. So then you can go ahead and maybe send this to somebody if they'd like to see like a quick layout. It kind of gives you a good format, and you could see your drawing is in here. You can also include it without the drawing as well, but sometimes people like to annotate it and everything as well. Um, Another cool feature we have is, let me go ahead and clear that drawing, is add data. And what this actually does is, let's say we have all of this estuary data in the map, but let's say you have your own data that you want to add, or maybe something from ArcGIS Online, like there's a couple different categories. You can go ahead and scroll through and like add, you know, add a data source. And yeah, I'm not actually logged in right now, so this won't work. But if you're logged in, it'll work and you can bring in your data. You can also bring it in through a URL or a file. So if you have like a shape file or anything, you can bring it in temporarily to this session. And what it'll do is basically within the session, your data will show up on the map. So if you want to compare your data to like this data or overlay it and then generate a layout, like that's a total possibility as well. And then the final button you'll see here is just a selection. So right now we have selection enabled for like most of these layers, but let's say you want to kind of turn them all off and you just want to be able to select, say, estuaries. You can do by rectangle, and then if I do that, it will select everything in this area. So right now this is the only one that's here, but there's 5 associated features. And then through there you can do a couple other things like zoom to it, pan, show on map, or yeah, calculate statistics. And then the final button you'll see at the bottom is going to be clear all. And what that actually does is it just gives you another way to refresh the page. So then you can kind of clear out any filters, any selections, any of that, and it'll just regenerate. So yeah, that's the application. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Sabrina. Hey, can you just do really quickly, can you go to the Big Island and go to the North Shore where Waipio Bay is up high up at the top? Waipio Bay is going to be one of those big ones at the top, the bays. So just zoom in a little more and we'll see it. Okay, it's the lowest on the right. Can you go
Oh,
to that one
gotcha.
and then put it into 3D and turn it around and look at it and turn on the wetlands layer as well so that we can sort of show how this 3D mapping can help with certain decision making.
Mhm.
Okay, so yeah, just turn it around so we're looking into the valley. So this was really important to Dr. Payton was noting that there are several streams that are feeding this bay, this Sharon Bay, that are shown in gray. They're from the National Wetlands Inventory data set. So they are not actually estuarian streams because they don't mix with the saltwater. They fall straight into the ocean and or something like that. We would have to bring her in to get the exact reason why, but they are, if they are diverted, it's going to change the amount of fresh water going into the bay, and therefore it may impact the juvenile fish populations that use the bay in this area as a place to be protected and grow up so that they can make it out to the ocean. So just wanted to show that an example of that. Wow. Thank you.
All right, I can
Hey, Sabrina, I have a question,
Yeah.
real quick. I might have missed it at the beginning, but did you
Uh-huh.
use a template, an experience builder template, or was this custom or a
This
combination?
was yeah, this wasn't a template. This was just we just went with the blank canvas and we customized this completely.
just to differentiate between that, Sabrina, when you said customized, that's not the developer edition, right? This is just a blank template out of the box.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, out of the box, right when you go into your experience builder, just hitting that first like blank template
Yep.
is the option. Yeah.
Great.
Thanks for the clarification question.
Thank you. Look great.
I just want to jump in and say Sabrina did do some arcade coding to help with the summarizing of the data that pops up when you select a estuary, because we wanted it to vary depending on if there was plural or singular information and if things were missing. Like, so there was some logic that she had to use to have that whole summary come out making sense. So just note that.
Yeah, and actually
Yes.
a lot of the charts too, well, not the charts, but the estuary overview, let me actually share my screen, is also, this is all going to be arcade. Um, and same with the details that were coming up on the side are also arcade. So, yeah. So like 10 riverine estuaries, like all of that is, and 16, that's all arcade.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah. Thank you.
Moving on, we have Craig Cluett and Alan Vindwan going to talk about collaboration in ArcGIS Online. Take it away, Craig and Alan.
Alan's going
Thank
to go
you.
first. Yep.
Yep. I'll go first. Sharing my screen right now. Share. All right, just confirming everybody can see my screen.
Yes.
All right, perfect. So, welcome everybody. Thank you for having us here. Alan Bin Lawan. I am a solution engineer with Esri and part of your local Oahu-based account management team. Today's topic is going to be collaborations, sharing, and Craig has the cool stuff that he's going to be showing you after some of the slides that I'm going to be going over. But as a primer, we wanted to kind of talk about kind of like the technology behind what he's going to be showing. So bear with me. We're going to go through the non-fun technical slides first. So, in the next few slides, just want to kind of highlight, many of you guys might be already be familiar with like, the shared items groups, but I wanted to highlight specifically partnered collaboration and distributed collaboration, but more so on the partnered collaboration as many um, use cases can really be applied here within the state. So within this little wheelhouse diagram, let's break it down a little bit further. And then Craig, in his example, is going to go a little bit more about the application and the integrated systems of what he's deployed once you have these different shared groups, items configured in their different collaborations. So first off, I'm hoping many of you guys are already familiar with this. We see it every day in our, login ArcGIS Online. It's your typical troubleshooting is like, hey, is my item shared? Is it shared with a group? I know if you're trying to share it with a colleague, and maybe you're trying to share it with an organization. And then many of you might be familiar where we're trying to share it with everyone, meaning it will be shared public. Bear with me for a second, because I know that this is kind of a basic information, but something to keep in mind that when content is shared, it's not being moved or copied. We're just sharing its location dynamically. All right, so no copies are being made. Again, you're still retaining the ownership of it. It's not going anywhere. And that's kind of like the key concept here with the collaborations that we're going to be talking about shortly. Now, groups. Let's think about groups as kind of your items that are placed in rooms within a library. You have your specific users that look for specific items, or you have your a collaborative group of specific people that you have them working them together. But these groups are typically configured to be like an internal group, something within your organization. You may have a public group where you're exposing items to maybe the state open data location, your items that you want to make public. And then you have your multi-org group where you can have one group and have members from different organizations sharing specific items in that org, as you can see right there in the middle. And that's kind of where partnered collaboration comes in, specifically when you're establishing groups that are being shared from two different organizations. You're building and setting up rules and trusts with two organizations that extend your group base capabilities. Keep in mind, this partnered, whenever you hear the word partnered, keep in mind that it's only between ArcGIS online organizations. We're going to talk about another item called Next, uh, which is the distributed collaboration. Now, when you hear the word distributed, think about enterprises coming into play here, whether it's two enterprise portals communicating with each other with these groups, or a portal communicating with another ArcGIS online organization. That's when it becomes a distributed collaboration. So some just key considerations for distributed. Again, this is when we're working with enterprise. Um, It acts as references, but it also acts as copies of two separate items and services, one in each organization. Remember earlier, within ArcGIS Online, you're just kind of referencing it, so it's a little bit more streamlined. But with distributed, it's a little bit more complex. You can share content in a distributed manner three ways: from online to enterprise to online, or a two-way sync between online and ArcGIS enterprises. But just keep in mind that ArcGIS Enterprise can only collaborate with one ArcGIS Online organization. So a real-world example of this is, say you have an organization, you have the authoritative data living in an enterprise environment, and we want to make that public, but we don't have the means to be able to do so. But we do have an partnering or ArcGIS Online organization. So through a distributed collaboration, you take that authoritative data, maybe you strip it down with however you want it to filter out like sensitive information, share it through this distributed collaboration to ArcGIS Online, and then this ArcGIS Online maybe has like third party or contractors that are working that have access to this particular ArcGIS Online organization, and then they can make applications go public. So in a way, it's all working together, uh, coming from an authoritative source all the way to like a public location. Uh, Partnered collaboration and some of the key considerations about this is, again, it is between two ArcGIS Online. Shared content does not move. And keep in mind that if you're going to create, you can't go crazy with partnered collaborations with, as many as you want. There's a limit to 20 uh, ArcGIS Online organizations that one can partner with. And then again, just kind of mentioning that once it becomes connected to an enterprise environment, it becomes a distributed collaboration. So there is some key considerations here, though, and I think Craig might cover this a little bit later, that offline workflows may be limited. I say limited because in a partnered collaboration, if you think about it, you have two matching ArcGIS online organizations that are just communicating with each other. They're just sharing the access to a data. But we've had questions before, like, hey, I can't take data offline coming from a partnered collaboration. Well, the limitation behind that is because when you're talking about taking data offline, you're bringing in syncing and also conflict resolution when you're building different versions of the data. But partnered collaboration is based off of live and real-time sharing. So it by design, it doesn't really work, if that makes sense. Like we need data to be across the board as soon as possible, we can't have anybody taking data offline. So you might be wondering, well, can you do offline data in a distributed collaboration? Meaning, can you do that not just online? Yes, but indirectly. And if that's something that you are considering, feel free to reach out to me. We can talk about the technical details behind that. But because distributed collaboration, kind of what I mentioned earlier, the data is local to those respective enterprise environments, it does offer it. Uh, it will offer kind of a cross-system synchronization that allows offline edits to move between systems. Again, a little bit complex, but we can talk about that offline as well. So frequently asked questions. We talked about partnered collaboration and traditional group sharing, but like, is there really a difference between the two? Because isn't that what adding a member of a user from a different organization, if you add them to your organization, isn't that essentially the same thing? Yes and no. The differentiator here in a collaboration are these four key things. First, you have the ability to add members to a group without an invite, because sometimes like the invite takes too long. You have to know the person, you have to grant that permission. In a collaboration, you are able to promote a group manager on both sides, which you don't have. It just allows it flexibility to be able to manage the content and who the people that are joining this collaboration. You can filter group by members, by organization name, and you most importantly, and this is the one that is probably its best function, and it's used widely, is you're able to participate in a shared update group. And we'll have an example of that later. Another question we get asked is like, well, if you have two partner organizations and they're working under different authentication, does this affect the collaboration? Short answer is no. Because ArcGIS Online, we're not messing with the access. We're just configuring the share. So it doesn't matter how one person logs into their different organizations. We're just creating that partnership, which is outside of any authentication methods. Uh, Another really popular question we get is like, well, what about the storage of the maps and the apps being shared in a partnered collaboration? Like, credits is always an important key consideration. So the answer to that is the organization that owns the content or shares it with the group pays for the storage. So you're not paying or consuming additional credits by using distribute or a partnered collaboration. You're still under the model of whatever items you have stored in your organization as storage. Oftentimes it's minimal. That's where the credit consumption gets used. So with that, hopefully that wasn't too boring. I know that was a lot of technical details. If you have questions for me, but for now, feel free to email me. I'll have my contact here and I'll probably add it to the chat as well. But I will let Craig go ahead and take over some of the results of collaborating with the different groups. Thank you.
Cool. Good job, Alan. Okay, so I'm going to show you kind of wait, someone is showing some of the details of what it looks like to actually do this. So let me share that. PowerPoint mode. Okay, partnerships in ArcGIS. So yeah, I'm gonna show you some reasons why you'd want to enter some of the settings and some examples of actually how we're actually using it today here in the state of Hawaii. But first, in honor of Royce Jones, we're going to have the partnership quiz. So we're not going to have any answers. You can just say them out, say them to yourself. We'll see how good you are at understanding partners. Hold on. So is it in PowerPoint presentation mode? It is. No, there it is. Okay. Partner. Partner number one. Who is that? Anybody know? Okay, we'll give you 2 seconds. Evan Costello. Partner number two. Who is these two? Sonny and Cher, of course. Partner number three is a tough one. Only us old people know this one. Anybody?
Garfunkel.
Simon and Garfunkel, very good. Lisa. Here's a little one for the kids. Beavis and Butthead, of course. Here's a little tough one for you. Any ladies out there know this one?
Thelma and Louise.
Very good. Okay, now we're getting harder. Now next one's very difficult. Who remembers this partner?
Milli Vanilli.
Oh, very good. Okay, and now for our Hawaii locals. How about this one?
Cecilia and Capono.
Very good, Nancy. Thank you very much. C and K. Yes. And of course, our favorite partnership. Anybody?
It's
Orlando.
Beavis and Butthead again.
Joan and Arthur, our favorite GIS program leads at the state of Hawaii. Cool. Good job, everybody. That's what Royce Jones would always do in a presentation. So I'm just carrying on for him. Okay, so let's get serious. So why would we do a partnership? Let me give you a great example. So here we have in orange a state land use division of urban. In green, state land use conservation. So in general, if you know your state departments, conservation would typically be led and managed by our sister agency, Department of Land and Natural Resources, whereas the orange in this case is going to be managed by Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity. So you can see there's a line between the two, but yet we need to work together. And here's the example why. So we have a little fire ant infestation going on up there in this valley, Haiku Valley in Kaneohe. So you can see the points of the infestation survey. And here's a little more detail. So the red is where we found little fire ants, and green is where we put samples out, but they were negative. But again, you can see the little fire ants don't stay within their lines. They go up into the green and over into the orange. So therefore, both the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity and the Department of Land and Natural Resources need to work together to help solve this problem. And so, and again, as typical, the DLNR is going to manage the conservation lands, and they're going to be going out and applying pesticides. And then we are going to continue with the residential properties. But again, we need to see who's doing what where, especially when we're using chemicals. It's really important that we don't overuse the same chemical at all times. And so we want to be able to have knowledge of what they're spraying or baiting, and then so that we can maybe switch it up or they can do the same so that it doesn't get tolerance built up in the little pests. And this is a long-term thing. You do it every basically 6 to 8 weeks for a year. So it's a long-term project. So we need to be working together. So a partnership is a perfect way to do that. So now I can have one ArcGIS Online group, and then they can see it and we can see it. And as they add data or we add data, it's visible to both agencies. So again, as Arthur was saying, it's, partnership. We're not going to talk about the distributed one. We're just going to talk about partnerships. Basically it establishes trust between organizations, so that data can be shared quickly and securely, which is really important. And it's all managed, of course. That's very important and a good use of ArcGIS Online. One of the things we do, again, we're going to use the groups as our method to share. And we can seamlessly add, again, it's not just the maps, but the apps, the data, all kinds of things can be shared back and forth, which is really great. Okay, and then the 20 partners, yeah, that might sound like low, but actually you probably would never want that many, even because the management of actually having 20 groups, so all these people in there could be a little onerous for the people managing the data or the applications. So what does it look like? So here's what it looks like. So again, most of you won't be able to see this yourself. You need to be an administrator of an ArcGIS Online account. But if you are an administrator or someone like Arthur or Sandra Matsumoto at UH, for example, this is what they would do. So under the settings, you go to collaborations. And then again, you have the choice right there of partnered or distributed. And you notice under partnered, we have one existing between the state of Hawaii, GIS program, the University of Hawaii, and then Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity. So this is how you set it up. That's what it looks like. One interesting thing is that once you set it up as an administrator, the other account will get a request to join. So that's where we would have to work together with the Arthur Butos of the world or Sandra Matsumoto, for example, if you're a UH account holder, they'll get the request and they must accept it. And so you can see, but it's pretty straightforward. It's not anything very difficult. Setting it up is very easy. Just put the URL in there and start make the request. One of the great things about this is that it's very flexible. And so, for example, you could at any time suspend it. You could end it just on your own, say, we don't want in, or the project is done. It just goes away. So no problems there. All the data that you own, you continue to own. All the data they own would continue on their side, but you wouldn't have no longer have access. Uh, but anyways, very simple to do. And once you do get it set up, it it becomes just like your regular ArcGIS Online experience. You create new groups, you add members to the groups. There is that concept of the coordinator. So like on the DLNR side, I can promote one of the users, say someone like Dwight, as a coordinator, and then he can manage his people on his side, and I can manage my people on my side. Just an easier way since I wouldn't know all the DLNR people. So you can actually make managers so that they can help with the collaboration and help add in people as they find appropriate from their agency or organization. But once you do it, it's like I say, it's just like creating a regular group like anybody can do, very straightforward. There is the concept of the shared edit, and then I was working with the offline. I'm still trying to figure out an alternate method to get an offline experience going. But anyway, it's pretty straightforward. And once you do it again, once you're doing the ArcGIS Online management, it just might add like one or two things, like in this case, the partner collaboration. So if I want to say who can be in this group, I can again say it's only my people or it's partnered or anybody in the whole world. And then again, you can set the invitation or request or however you want to set it up. It's pretty typical of an ArcGIS Online management. So another use case that I'm going to show you is something that we did for the Maui wildfires. So another great use case for why you would want to use a partner collaboration is when we had the Maui wildfires a couple of years ago now. Uh, there's a lot of people who can immediately jump in. So we had people from FEMA, we had people from EPA, Army Corps of Engineers, of course, the state of Hawaii, the county of Maui, and a whole bunch of other people, all wanting to share data very quickly, right? So this was set up basically like a week after the event happened, and it allowed immediately for people to start sharing data and things like that. And if you look at this one, and so again, that 20 was only for how many organizations, but it doesn't cap the number of users. So in this case, we have 73 individuals, and again, from all those agencies I mentioned. So it's very flexible. And notice here on the description on the left, the purpose of the page, the rules of engagement, responsibilities, all clearly defined, which is very nice to make it work. Because again, all these people, most of these people, like I'd never met. There's, people from FEMA from all across the United States or EPA from all across the United States. There was guys from NASA, guys from California, OES, all these people that, again, they wanted to get in and help really quickly. Here's how you do it. So it was very easy to happen, operated very quickly. And again, it gives you the ability to cut people out or turn it off whenever you need to or want to. So again, once you get it, this is the actual data. So you can have applications, just like normal web experience builder, instant apps, just dashboards, maps, web maps, story maps, and feature layers. And of course imagery, which was very important at the time. So it's just like using ArcGIS Online. Once you set it up properly, it's very easy to manage and use, and it just gives the ability, no more sneaker net, right? Of passing off hard drives or sending data, or here's an Excel file, or here's a PDF map. Nope, it's just all there in ArcGIS Online. And as new data comes in, you can just post it up and use it. So it's very convenient. And it got data to people all across the United States very quickly without a lot of effort. And interestingly, most of the agencies that we were talking about already have ArcGIS accounts and ArcGIS Online, so it was no overhead. It was like everybody from Coast Guard, like and all the other agencies. County now is using ArcGIS Online, states using ArcGIS Online. it just happened like within a day. Everybody who needed to get in were able to get in and start posting data and start accessing data. So it's very flexible and was a great example of where this kind of partnership would be useful. And in closing, so yeah, don't use it for everything because there is the overhead of, you got to get permissions and then you don't want a lot of loose ends out there. So only use it when you do need to collaborate with other agencies or departments. The functionality exists already. And again, Alan discussed the ArcGIS Online versus the enterprise. So depending where you sit, it definitely still will work both ways. It does require an admin to establish it. So just remember that. You just can't turn it on yourself. So you do need a little cooperation and collaboration. But the good news is that it's well documented and supported by Esri. So it's not a one-off third-party application or anything like that. It's all built right into the ecosystem. We have access to it. We are using it now and we'll continue to use it going forward in the future. And that is all I have. If there's any questions for Alan or myself, let us know.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Alan. I'm gonna undercut something you just said, Craig, and but I think you are spot on selling the collaboration aspect of ArcGIS Online. That's what it's built for. But the FEMA collaboration for the wildfires, and I think that was wildfires you were talking about, that actually was not a partner collaboration. That was just a regular group in ArcGIS Online, a non-shared update group. So what I call a regular group. All those people that you were talking about, the Red Cross, the FEMA, NOAA, USGS, the state agencies, the county agencies, they were able to join that group because they did not have that functionality of a shared update. So we could all share our content there, our maps, our apps to that group. Everybody could see it. Everybody could use our data, but nobody could edit anybody else's data or edit anybody else's apps. But it was a great example of how useful, absolutely useful ArcGIS Online, that collaboration in ArcGIS Online. And it was, as you said, set up like within a day or two. People were able to join the group and start sharing content right away. The feature of a partner collaboration, the main feature from my perspective of a partner collaboration is that you can have members from multiple organizations in that group, but they can have that shared update capability. Whereas in a regular ArcGIS Online group, again, you can have people from multiple organizations sharing data, but they would not be able to edit other people's stuff. And we have, so the limit of 20, like in the case of FEMA, that might actually be a problem in the future if they do establish partner collaborations, because they collaborate with so many different organizations. But for the state, we actually already have about 5 or 6 partner collaborations. And I think yours and County of Kauai's are the only ones that I think are really taking advantage of a partner collaboration. We established one with County of Maui, I think for the wildfire, but it was not actually used in the way that I think a partner collaboration should be used, which is, again, having members from both organizations being able to edit the same thing. But in the case of County of Kauai, their concept, I don't know if things have actually happened, but their concept is that there would be a common web map that the state folks would add data to, the county folks would add their data to. So in essence, you're editing the same web map, maybe not editing each other's data, but you're editing the web map and overwriting rather than maintaining separate copies of the same map with your data. In your case, you're collaborating with DOFA, UH, and I think Invasive Species Council. Are you going to be collaborating with them as well?
That would be the hope.
Yeah, and I think you are using it more in the way that I envision a partner collaboration working. And Alan, you could jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was, from my perspective, that was the main differentiator of a partner collaboration versus just regular collaboration that we can do in ArcGIS Online with other organizations.
Correct. On that little that slide in the FAQs that I listed earlier, other than being able to add the members without needing an invite, the fourth point that I mentioned on there was just the fact that you're able to utilize that shared update group, and you detailed it out well.
Ruben Wolf seems to have the question. Ruben?
Yeah, you had mentioned to join a collaboration group, you need a certain user level.
I wouldn't say not use it to create the actual partnership. You need to be an administrator.
No,
But
but
once it's created, I don't believe there's the restrictions of your level of ArcGIS Online user persist throughout. So if you're a viewer and you can't edit, even if you're in a shared edit group, I do not believe you're going to be able to edit. You would just be able to view.
Yeah, if you're a viewer, if you're not a creator or above, you would not even be able to join a shared update group. But so in you're essentially collaborating. If you're a viewer, you're essentially collaborating just in regular ArcGIS Online. A non-shared update group would be set up that allows members from any organization to join, and then the viewers could join that. But what that means for you as a content creator is that you share some content with that shared update group, but you would share other content with that non-shared update group.
right.
It could
So
be the same content.
I've had to set up two groups
Yeah.
because I've had, but I wanted everybody to collaborate, but they had certain people that didn't have the capacity.
Yep. Sorry. It's a limitation of the user types.
The other question I had was in the collaboration group, is it possible, or in the future, would it be possible to limit individuals from editing schemas and things like that? Or does everybody just have full access? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that
Alan?
may be an alien question.
Yep.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Specifically the schema. Are you more referencing the items details page versus the actual
Schemas and
attribute?
data, you'd want to have this group of, but you might not want certain people to have access to editing data, changing schemas. You want them as viewers more than contributors.
Mm-hmm. I want to say that that's something that you can configure in the group that you're creating for the collaboration, but I would need to double check on that, Ruben. But I know that it is flexible in a sense of how much editing can be done. But I'm I hesitate because the whole point of the collaboration for the shared group is that you want everybody to have that editing capabilities. But I understand how you do want to limit. You don't want anybody to go crazy with just performing those kinds of edits. That's why typically we reserve to it the editing capabilities to select individuals that know what they'll be doing. But that should be able to be configured in the actual group settings.
My rationale is that I have to keep setting up multiple groups for the same
Mm.
data sets. You know what I mean? So that some
Mhm.
people have this access, some people have this access, and then I need like field workers to have, you know, a basic access. So it gets complicated to, as I
Mhm.
have to have 2 or 3 groups per project.
Mhm.
Well, I think you're right. Sharing and collaborating in ArcGIS Online is one of the most complicated, complex things to think about. But I don't think it's difficult to set up 2 different groups, one with non-editing capability and one with editing capability. Because when you share an item, you have that list of groups in that checkbox. You just check one of them or both of them or, none of them. So it's hard keeping track of what you've shared or not shared, but it's easy to do. And you have to, obviously you're already thinking about that complexity of what do I want this person to be able to do or not do. So sorry, but that's, you've hit the nail on the head that it's very complicated and it's not, it takes some thinking and it takes some work, but at least right now, that's how it is. Any other questions for Alan or Craig? Well, I want to thank you guys because again, as I said, collaboration is one of the most complex things in ArcGIS Online, and it's
Yeah.
definitely a benefit, a feature of ArcGIS Online versus the traditional desktop software. So it's important for, I think, people to be thinking about what they can do, what the possibilities are as they move forward. So thank you again.
And to quickly add, Ruben, like I'm just kind of brainstorming here. I'm just wondering if there's even ways that we can set up views outside of the groups so that it kind of if we're trying to target specific users, we can we can manipulate the data using views prior to plugging some content into the actual groups. But reach out to me. We can talk about that offline too. Explore options. Thank you, Arthur.
Thanks, Alan. Okay, I just want to wrap up. We have actually, I think I had more than one update, but only one update that I can remember to give everybody about the program. And that is that we are in the early process for the first time, I think, in my memory of starting to gather our requirements for the next Esri contract. So you may have been contacted already about ArcMap use. We're looking at desktop usage, but also I've been working with leads in different agencies, the GIS leads in different agencies constantly, it seems. So I'm sure some of you are sick of seeing my emails because we have a limited number of user types in our current contract, and we are constantly struggling to stay within those limits. So what we want to do is make sure that for the next contract, we have enough user types available to accommodate all the requests for new users that we get on a regular basis. So I'll be working with those agency GIS leads in this next month and a half to kind of get their feeling for how many users they're going to be needing, not just in FY27, but FY28, 29, and 30 as we move into that next 3-year contract. Again, to make sure that we have enough user types available to accommodate requests, because right now we are fairly often running into a situation where we don't have any user accounts available to allocate, and people are put on a wait list for 1 or 2 weeks before one becomes available. So we don't want to be in that situation. We want people to be able to use the system when they need the system, to have access when they need access. Part of that too is training. So we regularly assign new accounts, and it's not unusual to see somebody not use an account for several months or not even log on for several months, and maybe after a year or two, not even be using the system. So we want to make sure that if you're getting an account, you're going to use it, and that if you need to use it, that you get the training you need. And so I think Dee Dee pointed you to some good training resources earlier. And then you can see from Lisa and Craig the kinds of things that you can do with the system once you're really fully invested in it. But I did want to just mention that we are reaching out now actively to our user base to find out, what licenses they have, specifically ArcMap licenses, but then also working with those GIS agency leads to get their sort of their, I don't want to use the word prediction, but their projection, I guess, of what their new users' needs are going to be in the next several years. So you may be hearing from us again in the next month or so. And if you have any questions about our enterprise agreement or licensing, ArcGIS Online, I'm open to answering questions right now. And on my screen, Joan, I can't see if anybody has any hands up. Okay. So if there's no questions, go ahead and end this meeting, and thank you all for attending, and have a great weekend. Thank you. Oh, one more thing, the recording we'll put up on our YouTube channel, and I'll send out an email to everybody once that's up there. And I'll include the presentations that Lisa and Craig hopefully will send me, and any other links to information that they may want to provide. Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend.